The Native American and federal tribal recognition. Do we exist? The recognition of the Native Americans and their land as domestic dependent nations who are able to make their own laws that are not subject to state laws has led many Native American groups to seek federal tribal recognition. With federal tribal recognition, these tribes, such as the Chetco and Tututni Indians in Oregon, would be eligible for tens of millions of dollars in federal funds from the Department of Interior's Bureau of Indian Affairs for health care and education, as well as reaping the benefits of operating tribally owned casinos. However, to become a federally recognized tribe, the petitioning entity must meet certain requirements, the first of which is they have been identified by a reliable external source on a substantially continuous basis as an Indian entity since 1900. Most tribes are able to accomplish this requirement by a treaty that was signed by a tribal representative, which sometimes was done with a thumbprint since a lot of Indians did not know how to write, and a government representative. An example of this is the Treaty of 1761 that was signed by a Cherokee representative using a thumbprint, and the British Crown that used a thumbprint and a signature. They have maintained a continuous community from historical times to present. This requirement is usually accomplished through government census records, such as the population of a particular group of people exercising the same religious practices in a particular geographical area. They must submit a governing document describing its membership criteria and how it is applied. Most tribes require a 1/4 blood quantum to qualify for tribal membership. Verification may be achieved through birth records or an affidavit from a tribal member that was present during the time of an individual's birth. Members of the petitioning group descend from a historical tribe. Of the criteria required for tribal recognition, this criterion is probably the most difficult to fulfill, being as most tribes did not use writing to keep records. However, many tribes used a particular symbol carved into a tree or a petroglyph to mark territorial boundaries. The petitioning entity is not part of an already recognized tribe. A clan or a band of Native Americans recognized by the Bureau of Indian Affairs as being part of a recognized tribe are not allowed to splinter off from their parent tribe to become an independent tribe, nor can clans or bands from different tribes splinter off from their parent tribe, consolidate, and become confederated tribe. The petitioning entity was not previously terminated by legislation. Indian termination was the policy of the United States from the mid-1940s to the mid-1960s. There were over 100 tribes terminated during this era. Tribes lost their domestic dependent nation status and became subject to the state laws in the state in which they reside. A few were able to regain their federal recognition. The tribes achieved this through long court battles and the approval of the U.S. legislature. It took some tribes decades to achieve, and it exhausted large amounts of tribal funds.